everybody. I would agree with Casey. I knew more about David than he knew before I met him. If the days don't allow us to see each other, memories will. And if my eyes can't see you, I know my heart will. This kind of represents the relationship I've had with Rachel, because I couldn't always see her because she was far away from me, going to school in Evansville and also living in Grand Rapids after we were next door neighbors. Our friendship is one that is so unique and so rare that it is invaluable, and unlike any relationship I've ever experienced in my life. It all began when I was 2 years old and she was 4. Our friendship became a long-distance relationship 3 short years later when Rachel left me and moved to Grand Rapids. Although we lived far apart from each other for the majority of our lives, every time we saw each other it was like sisters reuniting. We would catch up right away, just like sisters returning from a long trip. We would always pick up right where we left off. In fact, we went through the natural progression of sisterhood. For example, we fought like sisters for a while. We bonded like sisters. We would swap stories and tease our siblings just as sisters do. And most importantly, we love each other like sisters do. Our friendship is so natural that it feels like it's sisterhood. And that not only do our immediate families recognize it as sisterly, but even our extended families recognize it that way too. Our bond is so strong that if you look at your program, I have the most incredible honor of being listed as Rachel's sister, which is what she has always been to me and always will be. Like I said, I was 2 years old when I first met Rachel. My brother, being 4, was a much better play date, apparently. So I frequently was not invited to play. One time, when the babysitter insisted on my inclusion, Eric, Matthew, and Rachel thought that maybe I would enjoy the garden shed a little bit more. So they locked me inside the shed so I wouldn't bother any of them. Thankfully, I have very few memories of Rachel and the boys excluding me from their playdates, which leads me to believe that it didn't take long before Rachel realized I was the only one who would play Barbies with her. Except my sister Caitlin, of course, who quickly became the new annoying little sister, so I was moving up the food chain. So I was the best candidate for playing Barbies, and nearly every time I saw Rachel, that is what we would do. In fact, we played Barbies for several years, even beyond what was probably socially acceptable for Rachel. Since I was younger than she was, it was okay for her to play with me. Once we finally graduated the Barbie department, Rachel and I began having real talks. We would talk about our relationships and about our families and about school. The kind of conversations that teenage girls have with their best friends. Except when Rachel and I would hang out, there was one topic that stuck out to me as an overarching theme that wasn't quite like when I talked about it with my other friends. And that was our Christian faith. Rachel was a big sister in my eyes, and she was one of the first people in my life to show me what it truly means to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. She taught me how to pray by her example, and how to worship by choreographing dances, and introduced me to praise and worship music. She taught me how to love and forgive through her positive relationships with everyone else in her life. And all of these things she did matter-of-factly as if it was nothing, just what you're supposed to do. She did them in a way that was completely genuine. With Rachel as my best friend, loving Jesus appeared to be the most natural way to live. And I'm forever grateful that she has been the example for me the past 18 years. Now, David Patton. Hello over there. You are another light of Christ, and since I don't have the privilege of living near you too, I've had to hear about it through Rachel. I did have the privilege of hearing about your love of God through Rachel before I even met you, and it truly means a lot to her and to me as well. This being said, I would like to give you two some advice, which Casey already gave you, also from the couple that we interviewed during the bachelorette party. But I'll just give you the one piece of advice that stuck out most to me. It is keep God at the center of your marriage and in the center of your hearts. As long as you are both striving for God's will, you will always have a common goal to be working for together. So far in your lives, you have demonstrated God's love in your individual lives, and coming together, I know this love will be magnified. So everyone who encounters you will also be encountering the love of Christ. To David and Rachel.